Hello, my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and this is another mission for Star Trek Adventures. And we have Captain Carlton back after some absence. So we're glad to have that. We don't have a temporary captain that will boot Latal out of the captain's chair, uh, though that would have been good. And we have David sitting in with us today for this mission because of some shenanigans with the setup. But it's actually I like having a fifth seat person to kind of try out the system and give another voice to what we're doing. So we're going to check in and see. I gave everybody a milestone advancement, the big one, and then one of the regular ones for the swap out. So I want to check in with returning players to see if you've made any choices on that score. So let's start with Donna. Donna, have you thought about what you might want to take?
Yeah, you caught me in the middle of doing some typing on that very subject.
Okay.
For my kind of big one, I decided to keep it relatively low key and just bump my presence up from my lowest stat to now merely part of the main group. So from 8 to 9.
Okay.
Because, I've been doing a lot of command oriented stuff.
Yeah.
And then for my secondary, I decided to swap out multitasking because I don't think we ever saw an override task um, yet so far. So I've just put in precision maneuvering instead,
Okay.
um, which reduces the difficulty of tasks by one, where there's precision maneuvering or where there's a collision risk involved. So that seems apt.
So we'll have to get a craft on board for that. Okay. That seems like a good set of choices. What about for you, Alan?
I didn't notice it until just now,
Okay,
and so I've given it no thought at all.
fair enough.
But I will endeavour to give it some thought.
Okay, well, you've got certainly there are some interesting talents that are there.
Is
Uh,
is there chip on my shoulder?
yeah, I think there probably is not, but we could certainly come up with that for your Tellarite. Uh, 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 let's then come to Will. Will,
I changed one of my focus from Section 31 cannot be trusted to the Federation, not focus, value, sorry, value.
right?
The Federation must be protected. Um, to sort of say why he does this sort of spy work on the side of his official Starfleet duties. And I took the talent quick survey. You have a way of getting a good impression of a situation with only a moment's observation. At the start of the scene, I can immediately ask one question as if I had spent one momentum on the obtained information momentum.
That is a
That
nice one.
can only be what I could obtain with my own senses. And I'm sure you've already grasped where I'm heading with that being a Betazoid. Right.
Absolutely. No, that seems like a good maneuver there. And then Paul,
I'm going to raise control by one.
getting to the
And,
maximum of control.
well, yeah, everyone likes control, as um, yeah, somebody said. Um, and I think advisor, um, when you assist another character using your command discipline, the character being assisted may re-roll 1d20.
So are you swapping that out for one of your other talents, or
Uh,
are you doing the swap with your stat?
oh, let's keep that on the side then, and I'll think about it.
Okay, absolutely. All right. So with that in mind, I'd like to come to David and our new crew member. And David, have you tell us about who your character is, the sort of the background stuff, maybe a little bit about the talents that you chose, and give us a picture, and I'll have some questions for you.
Sure. So I'm going to be playing Jaro Meru, who is a Bajoran Cardasian hybrid, and she, so Jaro is her Bajoran family name, and she's mostly science, but has a strong medical background as well. And basically, I was thinking someone who is kind of involved in sort of like the medical forensics sort of worldscape. And I did a quick search and found a link to there's an actual in fiction sort of university that deals with this sort of thing. So basically, kind of like CSI type character is what I'm imagining. And so I'm thinking that their mother was a scientist based on Tarak Noor, if that fits in the timeline, which was Deep Space Nine. And her father was probably like a farmer and then got caught up in the resistance. Let's see. So let me go down here. She has, her top two stats are insight and reason. She's a total nerd. Her fitness is the lowest score. So I'm like very much like into knowledge and learning and education and all these things and the wonder of the universe. And so values include scrappy resourcefulness from growing up between the two worlds. Truth is a guiding principle. So I think what we see with Jaro is that Jaro's still learning how much truth is enough to share with people, right? Because she can probably be too blunt at times. Far from home, both alienated and excited. Liberality is my new path, which I got from an essay that I found that was talking about Star Trek. And this sort of fits in with the medical do no harm, treating all living life forms equally and positively. Let's see. And I've got some focuses there. Role ability, science officer. Talents include strong, is that Pa? Is that how you pronounce that? Pa? It's been a while since I watched Deep Space Nine. And then now. Yeah, Pa for Bajoran, and then from Cardasian side, suspicious by nature. And then mental repository is sort of the chief scientific talent. So kind of like a mind palace type thing is what I'm thinking from the description. Although probably in her head, it's more like a laboratory. Untapped potential, very young officer. I think there's another player with the similar talent. Yeah, so we've got two young officers basically. I haven't put in all the life path stuff, but one of them was death of a friend. One of them was ship destroyed.
Yeah, let's just stop and talk about that. Let me ask you a couple of questions here before we get to that. So, your mother was Cardasian, father Bajoran. Do you think, were you raised on both sides? Were you raised primarily with one? Like, how do you imagine that?
I feel like over the course of her life, she was raised between both, and each one wanted her to be in their world. So she never actually settled on either of them. So she's always going to be a disappointment to both sides, right? So I feel like she's got like samples of both cultures. She can understand it, she can get by, but she probably herself, even as well as others, don't consider her one or the other very strongly. So I feel like she's kind of like in this in-between space.
So it feels like you're someone for whom the Maquis and the resistance wouldn't have been a thing.
Well, I feel like maybe early on, like when things started, and again, I haven't looked at
so
the
our timeline right now is Wolf 359 happened about a year and a half ago, and we are just a few months after the wormhole is opened. In fact, that's where our captain was for a bit, was meeting with Federation officials to talk about what the hell is going on with that. So we're very much in the Wild West days.
Oh, cool. So if I'm reading and now seeing the notes in the chat, so I feel like once Tark Nor's handed over, like her mom is not going to be working there anymore, right?
Mhm.
So I don't think that she was, like you said, I don't think she was directly involved, but she probably has friends or relatives or people on both sides of it.
And by the time this happened, you would have been with the Federation, so you didn't have to make that choice of leaving Bajor or staying on Bajor. The death of a friend. What are you thinking for that? Are you thinking a Cardasian friend, a Bajoran friend, a Federation officer? What are you imagining?
I hadn't finalized that, so I'm totally open to anything. I was kind of thinking someone, whether they were officially or unofficially, kind of a mentor role friend, strong feelings towards this person. And I feel like they have some sort of legacy that kind of lives on in my character. So I don't know if it was like attempting to have peace between Cardassia and Bajor, or if it was something outside of that.
Okay.
You know, something more Starfleet. I'm totally open to whatever on that.
I like that. Yeah, let's think about that. If we can, we might hit a value or something where we can flash back or to that. So the classic thing for the second thing you have is the ship destroyed. The classic thing for that would be Wolf 359. Would be you went down with that, especially because we have a couple of other crew people who were caught in that. The captain was, and Lieutenant Fate, Will's character, in fact, was search and rescue opposed that. So does that seem reasonable to you?
Yeah, I think it would be great if Will's character found mine and the other survivors on that ship.
Absolutely. Do you imagine that, were you on a and that's just Captain Carlton, what kind of ship? You were medical officer on the ship that went down, right? You're muted.
Yeah, it was a medical ship.
So you would have also been on there, Meru, when that occurred.
Oh, could I have been like interning in the med bay or whatever?
Are you okay with that? Okay.
Yeah, certainly.
And it would then make sense that you would have gotten chosen when Captain Carlton assembled his crew, had some experience with you, and brought you on board.
When he had 2 arms.
I'm sorry?
Captain Carlton only had 1 arm.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so you knew him when he had 2.
That's right. He lost in a transporter accident, as you would know that.
You lost an arm?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
He does not like the transporter. So I think that's good. I think that gives us a good picture of who you are. I want to go around and I want to kind of do our setup. We come in, we see our Challenger class ship flying. We see the Starfield back behind. One of the things that is a classic Star Trek motif is that all of the crew people have a hobby. They have a hobby, and it might be artistic, it might be creative, it might be something else. We see them painting, or we see them building a ship model, or we see them playing a musical instrument. So I want to go down to and ask this, Lieutenant Commander Littall. When we come in and we see you, and you are doing a non-engineering activity, your hobby, something to relax or something that gives you pleasure, what is it?
I think the trouble with Littall is that he can't settle on anything. So at the moment, it's Klingon opera. And so I think we open with him kind of there with this noise blasting at him. And he's kind of... And next time it'll be a different hobby.
Okay, so certainly we see that into, like, is there anything else we see? Like, if we get a shot of your quarters, is there anything else that tells us about what you've been worked through for this?
Yeah. I think that there's probably an unfinished canvas in the corner You know, a really bad bust of Captain Carlton, where I just can't get the human features right, and I put that to one side. And I think also perhaps something really stupid like a fencing foil and mask
Okay.
hanging there, none of which have lasted.
Excellent.
But he has high hopes for the opera.
High hopes for all of these. Astrid, what about for you? Keeping in mind, of course, you share quarters with another ensign. But what is your downtime activity?
I think all of us ensigns have organized a friendly poker game, maybe in our quarters because we can't get the nice room. So Lee and Farga and maybe Tavelik, and I was about to say Lieutenant Tatata maybe, but I see she has disappeared from our NPC roster.
Oh, she had moved her
Um,
down. I thought I
okay.
moved her around right. I may have accidentally. Yeah,
That's no
when I was
problem.
moving some things around, I did, but she is there. Yes.
Um, I mean, she's a lieutenant, but
Yeah.
we're not too prejudiced against the higher ranks.
So are you good at poker?
I think I am extraordinarily aggressive at poker, um, and the actual, obviously with engineering 3, science 2, I'm not a lousy at statistics, but it's not my strong point. I'm playing the person and my own uh, cool and daring kind of approach to things is coming out here more than anywhere else.
I like that. That certainly gives us a nice picture of that. Who do you think is the shark in the pool then?
Uh, I I have a feeling it could be Lee. Um, um, I'm not sure
Okay.
why, but um, I think maybe we underestimate her, and she charms her way into getting information out of us, like she's some kind of security hotshot. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Captain Carlton, what about for you? What is your is this a dignified hobby? Is this more relaxed? Is this a passion for archaeology? What do you think this is?
Well, his second best stat is fitness. So I'm going to go. What more could a man with one arm do than single stick? So yes, he is skilled in the art of single stick.
Meaning,
Um, it's a like a fencing, but it's a stick.
oh, okay.
Yeah, who was famous for it? Johnny Lee Miller's Sherlock Holmes.
Oh,
He
In
okay.
was a
fact,
Yeah,
singles.
Sherlock Holmes is a great single
Oh,
sticker.
I did not.
okay. Well, there we go. I did not know it was a. I thought it was a Miller thing, not a Holmes thing.
Yeah, I always associate him with what is it, Baratsu or the thing. But okay. So like, do you practice in the holodeck? Do you ask people to spar with you? What do you think?
Um, I don't think he'd use the holodeck. I'd like to think there is a some kind of gym. If not, I'm the captain. Let's have a section of corridor. We'll just fence that off, and we'll have a bit of single stick up and down. And
Yeah,
yes,
well,
I
you've
think
got
it will be.
a nice small holodeck, and you can simply turn off the background like Alan has done, and just go with a green screen.
Yeah.
So yeah. Uh, Will, what about for Vate? Like what is your relaxation?
Um, I think that Vate's relaxation is because this is Star Trek, of course. It's the incredibly anachronistic holosims of you know what? I think he's doing base jumping um, in the holodeck, right? Which the audience has to think. Sure, there are lots of other places to do, but no, 21st century Earth is the place where you do it for budget reasons, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, we've got that. Like, uh, what is the expression? I mean, are you excited? Are you stoic? Are you gritting your teeth? Like, what is the emotional impression we get of you when we see you falling on screen?
I think it's with a huge smile on his face as his chute fails to deploy, and he has to deal with it. And he's plummeting closer and closer to the thing, and he dives down next to one of the other shooters, uh, grabs the backpack off, does the whole James Bond sort of like, attach yourself, grab onto the other guy, kind of like hold it down. Um, and he's like, well, I guess if I have to do that in real life, I'm prepared. And I was going to have Farga be my date for the thing, but she's busy playing poker.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact,
Uh,
maybe what we hear on the comms afterwards. Are you finished with your poker night yet? Can we meet up at the graveyard?
I like that. Uh, so, Jaro, uh, we're going to say that you have relatively recently come on as a crew person onto the ship. You're not chief science officer, so you kind of had to like get some room of your own. What signals to us the space that you've set up? What do we see in terms of like experiments or lab or what your interest lies in?
Um, I was gonna say gambling first, but I think that's definitely a thing from being on Terrak Nor on the promenade and so forth. But I think for her is she has these sort of like um, bespoke experiments, whether it's brewing a tea from a new algae or whether it's food or whether it's just like a fun thing, kind of like she just loves science, like, and tries to make it fun. So she might like in the old crew, she might have put on this sort of gastronomy sort of event or different flavors of cheese or bread or whatever. But I think like she's always got some experiment either going or in her head thinking about putting on.
So imagine a crowded lab table with like lots of very, very disparate sizes and shapes of things.
And there's probably like this makeshift hammock under the table for her to take naps. It's probably not up to code, but she needs to get up in a half an hour and check on something, then go crash again.
So I imagine that while you have as an ensign, you share quarters with another ensign, that you don't spend that much time there.
Yeah, and I feel like the ensign is probably like someone in training to be a pilot or someone like that.
Okay.
Like something worlds away different, but that they could have interesting conversations about. Yeah, definitely poker night is going to happen.
Absolutely. So we're going to come to the ship, and we're finally, after we've kind of done this move through to see where everybody is at, we finally get the captain's log. And Captain Carlton, why don't you give us that?
I haven't read the new mission plan. Is that up?
Yeah, I sent it to you in Slack.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I think my captain's log, it will be about the crew, and I will be saying, since my return, crew morale seems to have definitely improved. More free time has been granted now that some semblance of Federation normality has returned, and it is good to see crew members indulging in personal pursuits. And I think then we can get the montage.
That sounds good. Do you want to then read out the captain's log that I sent you, or do you want to have the first officer do that?
No. Basically, it's good to see people involved in personal pursuits. The ship is currently en route to Abathus, a former Cardasian client state, which broke away 2 decades ago. During a recent environmental crisis, the Federation have stepped in with assistance, including food supplies and industrial replicators to help rebuild the planet. Continuation of that aid has been made contingent on giving the Federation an opportunity to mediate a settlement between the extended civil struggle between the Abothus government and a revolutionary group called the Passage. The Kintsugi has been sent to oversee the negotiations, but this is complicated by the sudden illness of Ambassador Lavos, our assigned diplomat.
So, Commander Littall, we have Ambassador Lavos, and I think we come in and we're going to be seeing the med bay there. I think we have one of the supporting crew who's a med technician. What has happened that has put Ambassador Lavos like out of commission? Like he's going to be out of it for a while. Is it an illness? Is it an injury? Is it a syndrome? Is it a natural function of his species that mistimed? What do you think it is?
I think I like the idea that it's something about his species. There is some cycle. I'm thinking about Danubilon sleep cycles and stuff. There's something about it, and this mission was supposed to happen 3 months ago, when this wouldn't have been a problem, and he was hoping to squeeze this in before he had to hibernate. But he's now drifted into hibernation, and the question we have really is, do we wake him up?
Absolutely. And I think the medical officer is there with you, Captain Carlton, and says, there are procedures, but they are very dangerous to the subject. And I can't, in any good conscience, utilize those, Captain. I'm afraid you're going to have to handle the mission without Ambassador Lavos.
Oh, damn it, Doctor. I'm a captain, not a diplomat. Of course. Let's see, at least, unless it goes very, very badly, let's keep him where he is. That's always an ace we could possibly play later down the line. So let's keep him where he is, under monitoring by your good self, Doctor, and I'll give him my best stab.
And so,
Captain, could I have a word?
Yes, Littall.
Step out of the corridor and walk with you to the turbo lift. You need to know that during our absence, I did experience some difficulties with both your replacements. I'm sure you've been read the briefing on that, but I do feel that it has led me to think differently about my diplomatic skills. And I just wanted you to know that I am ready and able and willing.
Thank you. Yes, I did read the reports. Yes, hopefully we'll get to see some of your improved diplomatic skills during this mission. And you can clearly learn from some of the other away team members on how to further diplomatic relations between 2 hostile groups.
I have experienced a great deal of hostility, Captain.
Indeed. Watch, listen, and learn.
Thank you, sir.
Ensign Ward, you're on the con, and you've come out of warp, and you are approaching Abothus, and it you will get the basics through the sensors. It is a planet with a warp-capable civilization. They have trade with other smaller sort of non-Federation systems and planets very nearby. You can tell from here that they have an extensive network of satellites, like heavy satellite usage and lots of trash in orbit kind of thing. But I think the other thing that will immediately come up on your screens is that there are 2 Cardasian cruisers in orbit.
Well, I will put on the brakes a little. My friendly diplomatic orbiting shot will be put on ice for now, and I'll just maybe look behind me to make sure that the command couch is occupied by someone who is also noticing this.
First officer will Captain Carlton to the bridge. We have a situation.
On my way.
And the first officer will go yellow alert. And I think, like, Jaro, what's your reaction? This is the first time you've been, like, I mean, the last time you were on a ship where an alert went off was the last time you were on that ship. What's your reaction to the yellow alert hitting?
I think, given her upbringing, it doesn't like trigger like a PTSD at this point, unless the ship might be like crashing. I think she tries to remember her training and what the protocol is for this ship to respond to that.
Absolutely. Kind of set focus, and we see you kind of staying in line. Commander Littall, we'll kind of cut to you briefly. What is the engineering issue that one of your subordinates is talking with you about right now when the yellow alert comes up?
We've got some issues with one of the power converters. It means the port nacelle is just a little out of balance with starboard. I'm quite relieved that we've dropped out of warp, if I'm honest, because it'll be much easier to go and have a look at it here.
So yellow alert come out, and then finally, Lieutenant Vate, what about you?
I think that Vate is at the tactical station in the bridge and is punching up scans of the Cardasian ships.
Let's have you make a roll. So I'll tell you some basics, but let's have you make a roll for scanning. What do you think that is? The ship's sensors are 11, and but we're probably going to use your stats for this.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever made a roll with the. I'd rather use the ship if I can.
Yeah, generally with the ship systems, we pick something and then we add a d20 when you're running it.
Okay, so I would go with sensors.
Okay.
And probably security, if I'm honest, right? Because it's part of that whole. I'm scanning their weapon systems, their shields, etc., to see where they are.
Yeah. So let's have you make that roll.
As always, I go looking for the dice roller. Remember that we have the dice roller in the character sheet.
Yes.
Oh, that's weird. Seems to have changed.
In the layout, or
I go to yonder dice roller, 2d20 roller, Stellar Travel Adventures. There we go. Now I think I must have just clicked on 2d20 at the top.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. So 11, right? Plus my security. So we're looking at 16, I think, is the threshold. Right?
Roll 3d20.
Okay. Annoyingly, you have to choose the stats in this before I'll let you roll. Didn't know that. That's two successes.
Two successes. So
16 of complication as well.
no, 20 is a complication.
20 is a complication.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tell me, what's your first question? Like, what is it you absolutely want to know right now?
How are they reacting? How are they reacting at all to the to a Federation ship appearing?
They've clearly picked you up,
Hmm.
and you will check through, and they have not raised shields, and they have not powered up weapons. They are not in an offensive posture whatsoever, but they are definitely running scans on your ship. What's the second question?
The second question is,
Or
could
you, if you don't want to ask a question, you could also throw that momentum in the pool.
I think what I really want to know is, could the Kintsugi take them?
Two of these versus the Kintsugi is going to be a close run thing. Like this is a 50-50. They have a slight edge because there are two of them, but they're also smaller than the Kintsugi.
They don't have pencil ward on the con, so
Absolutely.
really, who's got the advantage there? Cool. I obviously communicate just to tell David the thing I think I say every episode is that whenever Lowell does the exposition, given that this is a Star Trek episode, that's what our characters are saying out loud, right? Because everyone says everything out loud in a Star Trek
Yes.
episode.
And Captain Carlin, as you get to the bridge, Ensign Farga will say, Captain Carlin, we're being hailed by the Cardasian ship.
Farga informed the Cardasians that we are on a diplomatic mission and see what their response is.
They'd like to speak with you, Captain Carlton.
No problem. Ward, position the ship so the dorsal power converter is always away from the Cardasian ships. Latal needs some time to fix it, and I don't want them bearing any guns. Farga, put them on main screen.
Hiding our weak spots, sir. Aye.
And you will see our classic, maybe I can get this open here, classic shot of the Cardasian ship. We see the command with the stained glass behind it, as we've seen on that. And the commander is there, the Gull. Gull will say, Captain Carlton.
Gull.
I am Gull Shagat Proc. I'm looking forward to our meeting here.
Indeed. Maybe a pre-meeting. It's customary to host visitors. Maybe you and the other Gaul would like to visit the Kintsugi.
Absolutely. I look forward to speaking with the ambassador.
Excellent. This is, of course, not a diplomatic. It is just an invite to come to our ship.
Absolutely. Have you not been informed?
No, I've got my orders, and they are still extant.
I see. I think that is probably an oversight by the Abothan government. We are also participating in the negotiations to represent the interests of the Cardasian Empire.
Of course.
And I think that that'll be the point at which we kind of cut to the credits on that line. We do the shots, the music comes over, we do the glamour shots of the ships going across. And again, that thing that we have is the ships kind of breaking up into pieces and then coming back together is our thematic through all of that. And we cut to the transporter room. Captain Carlton, who have you assembled to greet these Cardasians?
I think I've got to have Vate as security. That's a must. Whether he is obviously security or posing as something else, I'll leave that to Vate. And I think we'll. It's no. Let's leave the first officer on the bridge, just in case the Cardasians pull something tricky. I want a solid hand at the helm. Let's go for Latal. Why not?
Okay. Are you bringing Marrow, who is at least partially Cardasian, has some familiarity? Or are you reserving that?
Think,
you could use me to you could use me to throw them off because I'm obviously not a full Cardasian.
Yes, but it might be handy having you monitoring the situation and feeding me information on body language, and also if let's say body language, because clearly universal translators, if they were whispering, it could be relayed to me by computer.
Right.
Only a true or somebody that's lived on a Cardashian world can give me the true insight. The computer cannot do that. So Maru will be off in a monitoring room. Donna, I'm happy that Ward's here, or do you want to stay on the bridge and bring in a quick character just for this scene? Because we've got a good selection of them.
Yeah, I think
Lieutenant Bate, by the way, would advise you that having Mary there may provoke the Cardassians into slipping further. Cardassians typically do not approve of mixed race spring. So if Mero is okay with it, it'll strengthen your hand having her in the room.
Well, I think personally, strategically, bring me in when you need the wedge. I don't think the opening gambit is to throw them off base and make them irritated. Right.
Let's not play the hand all at once.
So think about when you need to use me as a piece in the game. But I think
let me ask you this, Marrow.
Having her off on the side.
When Vate suggests that to the captain in your presence, I mean, is that what you say? Do you say that back?
Yeah. Okay. I think given I'm going off the focus of diplomacy and other things, and not understanding the full scope of this mission, but understanding the xenophobic nature of Cardassians and the treatment that I've received, go. And I think given our history serving aboard the ship, I think that she is totally okay with this. Yeah.
Ensign Ward, who is the transporter officer?
Who might that be?
Is that someone we've seen before, or is it a new character?
Tatasa is in engineering, right? So this is not her bailiwick, unless it is. I'm not sure if she has an assigned role yet, Latal.
She definitely was worried about Latal and was being down in engineering.
And that's why Latal has brought her up. And will stand at her shoulder watching her every move.
Perfect. If it were appropriate, we would be texting about you behind your back, Latal, but it's not Star Trek. That's not Star Trek. So Tatasa is there. Well, maybe not too nervously, but a little bit eager to please, let's say. Operating the transporter, making sure everyone is coming through okay.
So you will, transporter will power up, and we will see the Gull and his two Glens, his assistants, come through. Tatasa will confirm that they are not armed when they come through, since you can tell that in the transporter. And the Gull will kind of look and nod, kind of looks around and says, "Captain Carlton."
Gull. welcome aboard, USS Kintsugi.
This is a fine ship. I'd heard something of its legacy.
Indeed, it has seen battle, but it is indeed a fine ship, but nowhere near as indeed as its fine crew. May I introduce you to some of them?
If you wish.
This is my chief engineer, Lieutenant Commander Latoll.
Greetings.
I'm sorry, that was Tellarite. Greetings.
All right. Well, these are my two Glyns, Glyn Jimia and Glyn Adak.
Welcome aboard, and this is my head of security, Lieutenant Vate.
Vate will greet them in Cardasian, having picked up a smattering of it.
Your accent is practiced, sir.
I spent time on the borders. Go.
This is a commonplace occurrence when my people and your people meet, where the comparisons of who was where and who killed who. But that's not the matter at this moment. Where is Ambassador Lavos?
The ambassador will join us at the dining room.
Excellent. We are on something of a schedule to meet with the Abothans. Is there some issue that we need to discuss here before?
No. I just thought it'd be good if you came aboard, shared a meal with us to impart some friendly pre-negotiation.
I feel better relationships today than we did yesterday. Go.
I don't quite follow. Lieutenant Vate, was it?
Yes. As you say, whenever with the Cardasians and the Federation meet, we talk about where we were and who killed each other. Perhaps next time we can talk about the fine meal that we shared.
That seems reasonable. Absolutely. Captain, lead on.
And I will lean to Vate and say, let's get Maru into the reception suite. Maru will now be the ambassador.
That's a hell of a field promotion, Captain.
Well, ambassador is a civilian rank. This is a military starship, so yes.
Yeah.
We need somebody that knows the Cardasians well.
You will exit the turbo lift on a floor above wherever they're going to, and then you'll see him calmly walk out and leg it down the corridor towards
So, okay. So Mero, you're kind of still, observing, and Lieutenant Vate, how do you put this to Mero when you come rushing in?
Maru? Ambassador Maru?
Please.
Well, I think it's Ambassador Maru now, Jaro.
Jaro.
Yes.
Ambassador Jaro, please.
The Jaro. Okay. Well, the captain has taken a rather bold decision to you'll be stepping into the ambassador's shoes for this mission. You up for the job?
I might need some shims. I believe the ambassador's feet are larger than mine, but yes.
Yes. Well, we'll get the replica, and he's punching up something on the replicator now to get like civilian clothing for.
Right, and I think Jaro is like, giving some suggestions and so forth.
Yeah. You did the diplomacy course at the academy?
I have gone over the basics.
Great. Well, going to be a hell of a field test, Jaro. The Cardassian Empire, well, they're hard bargainers. Let's put it that way.
Good. I'm looking forward to it.
So I do think we'll come back to Lital and Carlton walking along as that change is going on. Ensign Ward, is there anything you are doing while all of this is going on?
I am. I guess I'm not really too happy to be static when I'm outnumbered. So circling, I guess, just out of transporter range. And paying attention to keeping that dorsal side away from those cruisers. So yeah,
Absolutely. Let's have you roll. I want to have you roll such that like I think this is difficulty 2 to maneuver to make it unclear that you have a weak spot.
Yeah.
To conceal that.
So do you think precision maneuvering counts?
I like that. Perfect. This
Okay.
is a great chance to use that.
So that reduces the difficulty by 1.
So difficulty 1.
So I guess control.
Yeah.
Con.
That seems perfect. And helm operations. So that's a 15/4.
Okay. So that is 1 success.
1 success. So that's just enough. Like, what do we see on screen with our CG budget to show that this is going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Cardassians are no fools, right? So they maybe slip their anchors in naval parlance, and there's a little dance going on right now, and yeah, I guess it's now about keeping them guessing and making sure that if all hell breaks loose, we're not in too bad a position with regard to the planet and anything else.
Absolutely. Captain Carlton, Lieutenant Commander Lital, as you are walking the Cardassians along, how is it that you are keeping them occupied for the time until you take them to the dining room?
I'm discussing Klingon opera with them. I'm curious whether they've ever heard Klingon opera. It's a recent fascination for myself. I find that some of the lower bass notes really improve my digestion. Yeah, have they never partaken?
Paul says, this is not a form of music that I am familiar with. I am more of a Cardassian percussive man myself.
Oh, Ship's Computer, Klingon opera, latest track.
Perhaps
the corridor fills with, which from the Tal's point of view is perfect because it kills conversation. You can't speak through it, and it's a huge relief because he is really confused by, where is this diplomacy I'm seeing in action?
Captain Carlton, what are you doing? Are you trying to establish a trait to kind of keep them unsuspicious? Are you trying to read them to gather information? What are you trying to do here?
Yeah, I'd like to read their position. And I think coupling on to Lital's now deck-filling Klingon opera rendition, because the ship has been glued together, it does take a long time to get there if we want it to. Because and the Cardassians will know that this ship had suffered heavy battle damage. So I'm more than happy to say, we've made some wondrous modifications from the ships that made the Kintsugi, and now it's actually stronger than any of those ships were individually. We've taken the best part of 3 ships.
So we're going to roll back just a sec. We're going to do that framing sequence. I think they're fascinated by the Dolphin crew members in the Station deck that we see with the Klingon opera going on in the background. Jaro, let's go back. you want to make an obtain information roll, observing these Cardassians. What do you think is the appropriate attribute and discipline here for you?
I feel like insight.
Okay. And then what for discipline?
I guess security.
That makes sense. Yeah. So that's going to be a 14 or less. I think you've got criminalistics, which seems to me like an interesting, appropriate focus for this.
Yeah, if they're planning or anything to do something criminal, according to Starfleet or whatnot, then okay.
Yeah. So you're going to be rolling 2d20. You need a 14 or less. If you get 3 or less, it's 2 successes rather than 1.
Okay. I'm trying to use the yonder thing, and it's not picking me up.
It's not picking up the
my character's attributes.
Okay.
Oh, you have to click the cogwheel at the top of yonder, top right, and you type your
and change what's there. Okay.
Yeah, and
all right.
Then when you close that, you click on which ones you want to roll.
Okay, that's great. And then let's see.
While he's typing that in, Lowell,
yeah.
I'd like to activate 2 of my abilities that may help.
Sure.
Jaro. I'd like to do. Why can't I see me? Yes, me always helps. Let's have the roll ability captain. I'm going to spend a point of determination to put 3 in the pool straight away. And with my veteran ability, I'm going to roll a single dice. And if it comes up in effect, I get the determination back.
Okay.
That looks like an effect to me.
That is an effect, yeah. So you get that determination back.
So I don't lose the determination. And there's 3 in the momentum pool.
Okay.
Free for any player to use.
Excellent. All right. Jar, are you able to get yourself set up?
So for the focus, it says in the box, if focus applies, roll criticals on number equal or less than. Do I just not do anything with that right now?
3 or less, because your discipline is that you're using is a 3.
Oh, okay. So I just roll and see what happens. Okay. So where is my roll button? I think that's it.
Once you've chosen the stats, you hit roll test at the top. There you go.
Did it work?
So roll test up at the top.
Oh, hang on. I think I see. That's fine. There we go. It should be doing something.
Okay. So 2 successes. So this is obtain information. We'll say with your background, we're going to say difficulty 1. What's the first thing that you want to know?
Well, I think I would have discussed this with the captain. What's something that we wanted to kind of just rule out right away about their presence?
Captain Carlton?
Are they here peacefully? I think.
Okay.
They are definitely here for a diplomatic negotiation. The Gull is clearly at that stance. You saw that they didn't have their shields or weapons powered. They definitely are here to be part of the process. What's your second question?
I feel like I'm playing Powered by the Apocalypse.
Yeah, that's a little bit how I run it. Yeah.
I love it. What should we be on the lookout for? Is that too?
Of the 3 of them, the Gull is definitely got, he's definitely here in his diplomatic stance. Jimia seems like she's your classic Cardassian, walking around looking at things, maybe Obsidian Order, you're not sure. But definitely Idak has a chip on his shoulder. Like, you read that pretty clearly. And he's the one that you're like, oof, He doesn't like being here. He doesn't like us. He's the one to be careful with.
Okay. Definitely relay that, especially to Lieutenant Vate while we're changing clothing.
Okay. So Captain Carlton, did you want to do a roll before we kind of go into the meeting room? Or are you?
Yeah, well, we've just asked a very good question. Yeah, maybe not before they go in there, but I'm very interested on what side they're favouring. So that's going to clearly require some dialogue with them over the meal.
Okay, so we'll hold off until the meal. I do think that our like the Klingon opera eventually goes off and the doors open and we see the dining area, we see the table set up, and it's the first shot we get. Vate there, and Ensign Jaro in the diplomacy thing, the outfit there. What does that look like? Like, what do you imagine your diplomatic clothes look like for Jaro?
So I've changed my character's picture.
Sure.
I feel like it has like a military cut to it, but it's got this. That's probably more Bajorn, but it has this sort of what I would consider like neutral color for Cardasian, which I'm just saying is red here.
Okay.
And that it's got some like little bit of almost like jewelry accents signifying certain things.
Okay. Do you have the Bajoran connect ear thing?
I think she's not wearing it right now. Out of respect for the Cardassian side. And I'm going to say that I think that Jaro might have like a Cardassian sort of tattoo on maybe like an upper arm, so like part of her outfit reveals that, and it's probably something that her mom insisted on doing, so she did it.
I think that the doors open, we see the Gull come in, and I think we see the reaction on his face there, as we know the camera pans over and we see you turn around in the outfit, so that can be our go to commercial break reveal there. Let's take our first break, 10 minutes, and we'll come back to the meeting room. So I think post-commercial break, we are at the dining table. Everyone is seated there. Food is provided. There, of course, is the weird Cardassian worm food that we've seen in the interrogation episode and such. And they are seated there, and I think we kind of come to like clear that there's been some overtures, and we come to the Gull saying, so where precisely is Ambassador Lavos?
Lavos is on a different diplomatic mission, so he's assigned a new ambassador from the Federation Diplomatic Corps to oversee these ones, being a local problem rather than a Federation problem.
I see. And so what's your experience with both this ambassador Jaro, was it?
Ambassador Jaro.
My experience in this matter will be suitable. And kind of like, I feel like Jaro is in this role taking on her mother's sort of like curt ego, like channeling her mom.
Okay. He is definitely trying to get a read on you. So I'm going to make a roll for him, and this is going to be a resisted roll. And we'll talk about what that looks like. So I've got my dice here. So I've got I'll spend point for my threat pool. Get 2 successes. Trying to get a read on who you are. What do you think is the appropriate thing to kind of stay evasive, resist him reading you? Does presence feel like the right one, or something else, or control? I'm good with either one of those.
Yeah, I think channel if she's channeling her mom, I think control.
Okay. And then what do you think for discipline?
Well, I think if it was her mom, command.
Okay. So we've got a 9. I think we'll let the diplomacy focus work there. Now, here are some options that you have to make this better. You have momentum in a momentum pool. You could spend one of those to give yourself an extra d20. If someone wants to assist captain, the captain can assist and will also roll a single d20 and add their successes to yours. So the captain's going to help. So that's potentially 3d20. Do you want to spend momentum or hold on to the momentum?
I think I'm going to spend. I feel like I need to spend the momentum here.
All right. Yeah. So momentum pool goes down to 2. So you roll 3d20, looking for 9 or less on each d20, and then we'll roll for the captain.
Okay. Here goes. Is anything happening? Okay.
Yeah. Wow. 6, 2, and 20. So the 20 is a complication.
Yep.
The 6 and the 2 mean 2 successes. Captain, do you want to roll in case you would be adding a momentum to the pool potentially?
Yeah. So it's control and command. Yeah, we established that already. So it's 1 dice I roll.
Yep.
19.
Okay, so just the 2 successes.
I can't believe I had 18 and I rolled a 19.
Okay. I think there is this a bit there when talking along, and you see that Jimia has been kind of nodding along, and you see her kind of stop nodding, and she stops and pays real attention to you. And you can tell she doesn't know exactly what's going on, but she knows that there's something familiar about you. But the goal is like, okay, this is substitute diplomat. This is an interesting maneuver on the Federation part to put a Cardasian Bajoran here. And he will say, so do you have family on Abothus? I know there is a large Bajoran expatriate community on planet.
I don't have any family. Is this person talking about on Bajor or Cardassia or out here?
Right here on Abothus, he says there's a large.
No, I don't have any family out here. Would it be okay for me to suggest part of the complication?
Sure.
Okay. So I think I think that they run into each other at Quark's bar years ago.
Yeah, she's something vaguely familiar about you. She's trying to put it together. You were much younger.
Yeah, I think that was Jaro was kind of, just being a kid, right? And just kind of observing and maybe get under people's feet and so forth. And, maybe even learned a little bit of how to play a gambling game.
Dabo?
Dabo by watching this person.
Yeah, she got now she's like she knows that she's met you, but she can't place it. The gull will say, well, I'm looking forward to this. As you can understand, we have long-term interests in Abothus. They were a ally of the Cardassians until settlement was reached a few decades ago. During that time of troubles on Cardassia, and given our focus on the restoration of Bajor, we didn't have the time to come back and work with them. But to be perfectly frank, Captain Carlton, we also supplied aid to the Abothans during this recent environmental crisis. So we have something of an interest there. We also have, as you may or may not be aware, a Cardassian long-range sensor outpost here in system, granted to us by permission of the Abothans. So given the presence of that, our interests are important in whatever settlement goes on, and the Abothans have agreed to allow us to participate.
So maintaining the status quo with the Abothan government is your position, rather than allowing them free choice by whichever means.
I don't believe that is what I said.
Can I get a read on him that that is indeed what he wants, though?
Sure. Why don't you make a roll for me? What do you think is this? Probably insight.
Yeah, definitely insight.
Command feels right to me.
Well, yeah, I think I was quite forthright with him there, so I think that's putting it to the man.
Okay.
So yeah, insight and command, and I do have negotiation as a focus. So will that allow me?
Are you trying to get him to do something, or are you just trying to read him?
I'm just trying to read him.
So I don't think that's going to apply as a focus.
Okay.
I can.
Okay, I don't think.
Could I help with my survey?
Focus,
yeah, you can. So you can also roll the same roll. Jar, roll 1d20. Captain Carlton, roll 2d20.
Four and 16, so one success.
Yes. And what about for you, Jaro?
Which am I just
insight
rolling?
Command?
Insight command.
Just command. Insight
yep.
command. Okay. All right. Insight command.
So I think we'll take that first die of the two. And so we've got one success. I think that Captain Carlton, he's pretty opaque about what his real desires are. Like he is being non-committal, and he is definitely like he recognizes that this whole situation is unusual, and that this all feels like a very tactical move to get an edge on them. And I think eventually he's kind of saying less and less as this goes on. Vate, what about you? Let me check in with Vate and Latal and then Ward.
Well, I was hoping to use my new talent, the quick survey talent, but I'm not sure if I think that's already been done at this point. Really,
well, I think you can ask that. Yeah, that's
yeah.
your thing. We can roll back to that.
Yeah. So really, I suppose it's how are they disappointed? Surprise, like what is the Gulls' reaction to not having the ambassador he expected, I suppose. Because I think Vate is very much aware that the Cardassians always have a plan within a plan within a plan. So anything that changes what they expected throws them off balance.
I think he's he seems like worried because he seems to be like, are we actually going to get something done? Like that seems to be his thing. He's like, they haven't sent along the person who was supposed to be here. What does that mean? Does that mean they're not taking this seriously? Does that mean they don't want to like that seems to be a concern for him? Does that seem
Maybe
like a
like
fair answer?
yeah, a sense of mild irritation rather than like frustration or fear kind of thing at a master plan being derailed kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Cool. That's plenty.
Okay.
I'll just feed that back to the captain, I think. Otherwise,
Captain Commander Lutal?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to have a word. I think my guess is that Glinidak is going to sit further down the table,
Yes.
if only to be away from Jarrow.
Yes.
And so I think as given our both our propensities probably to be slightly outside the norm, I'm going to engage Idak in conversation, and I'd like to. I've just put a note in the chat. As my minor improvement, I've squished a point out of medicine into command.
Okay.
And so what I'm wondering is whether I could deploy my incisive scrutiny, a knack for finding weak spots in arguments, theories, and machines alike, to glean information from them, learning about things by how they respond to pressure against vulnerable points. And I can use that in terms of argument. So I want to go from Klingon opera to the Tellarite competition of argument. And I want to press Idak on what he makes of the current relations between the Federation and Cardassia, and how he thinks that will influence these negotiations.
Interesting.
And I just want to push him and push him and push him to see what I can learn about the arguments he thinks should be deployed or his underlying feelings.
So control plus command?
I think it's control plus command. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that my new focus in command theory,
Okay.
I would like to suggest might apply here.
13/3.
Okay. So that's 2 dice. Control and command. Oh, it hasn't picked up on the change. Oh, that's interesting. Right. Right. Okay. Let's just roll the dice. 19-4. So that's 2 successes.
That's 1 success. Right. 13/3.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, you're quite right. But I also, because of that incisive scrutiny, you
get that
gain
bonus
1 bonus momentum, which may only be used to obtain information.
So what is the kind of question that you have before we from here?
I want to work out what I'm looking for cracks in the Cardassian team. I want to know what Idak thinks of all of this.
You could tell that Idak doesn't necessarily is clearly more irritated at the presence of the Federation here than the Gull is. Like that's clearly a stronger feeling on his part. I think one of the things you realize from the conversation is that all 3 of these people have had interactions with the Abothans before. They all know about the Abothus. They have been here before. You have the sense that maybe even that the Gull was part of the previous administration that left. Does that seem like fair info?
It does. And I'll put the other momentum. I know I don't have any other. It's 1 to succeed and an extra one.
You've got a bonus momentum for obtain information. So you've got another one to ask.
Well, no, I was going to use that one to ask and put 1 in the pool.
Okay, that seems fair. Donna, let's come back to you. Do we want to you do something, scans or checking, or do you want to bring a secondary character in? What would you like to do here?
I wonder, given that we're um, maneuvering carefully around these two Cardasian cruisers, if we might have identified one of them from our recent encounter on Relic.
I think not this Gull ship, but the other ship you will definitely realize is the ship that was at Relhik, that was in orbit. You kind of check the transponder, kind of get that signal and put that together. Yeah, that seems right.
Yeah.
That way we can reuse actors.
Yeah, that's true. We won't send a cheeky message to a young subaltern over there quite yet, but yeah. So I wonder if that maybe gives the command crew a little bit of insight into maybe if we need to peel one off, then we know which one is the dominant for sure, and which one is just hanging around to back them up.
Yeah. Do you want to make a roll?
Yeah.
Maybe you could either obtain information or you could establish a trait.
Yeah, I think maybe we're establishing a trait.
Okay.
Maybe this is the tactical equivalent of what Latal has done at the diplomacy table.
That makes sense.
So what does this seem like? Insight or
yeah, I like insight.
Insight and
command or security, I would say.
Probably security if it's about unless we think is the Cardasian kind of command structure very hierarchical?
Oh yeah.
So like we can maybe there's command.
Yeah. So that'd be a 14/4.
Am I getting the focus?
I think the focus for investigation, I think, applies here.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good to me. Insight command. And will I use a momentum? No, I think I'll save it. Oh, so that is a 14 and also a 20.
Okay. So you have one success, which is not quite enough to create a trait here.
Mm-hmm.
You do have a complication. Now, would you like to spend a point of determination to re-roll that?
No, I'll take my licks. I'll save it for something a bit more pressing.
Let me think here. I think that as you are kind of doing that, maneuvering around, trying to get keep an eye on things, you will just clip one of the satellites in orbit. Like you kind of doing that careful dance, and your focus is on them, and you will clip this satellite, and it hits against the deflector array, and it goes down.
Okay.
And I think you will hear from the captain's ready room, where the first officer has been kind of seated at the command, comes up and goes, "Ensign Ward, what was that?"
That was a satellite, sir. It drifted away from its course, as far as I can see.
So you're going to try and lie to your first officer. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll correct myself right after that, because I'm getting myself into trouble maybe by the book. Sorry, sir, that I drifted off my course.
All right, I will. Farga raise the both in government. I'll speak with them about that.
Will do so.
And I do think that sort of as like the meal is kind of ground to that halt, Captain Carlton, that your first officer says, Captain Carlton, to the bridge when if you're available.
Certainly, number one. Gaul, it's been good entertaining you. We've got a long day ahead of us, both of us. I think now's a good time to part ways, and
Yes,
we will
yes,
see
it
you at the
is.
negotiating table.
Well, I am looking forward to that. And he'll turn to you, Lieutenant Fate. Lieutenant, if you would take us back to your transporter room.
Let's go this way.
And I think we'll cut to Captain Carlton, to you on the bridge with one of the Bothan representatives on screen there. You can see what the Bothans look like in the NPC tab. And they are not happy. And they are, Captain Carlton, you arrived in orbit. We've had no communication from you. Where is the ambassador? Your ship has apparently destroyed one of our satellites. What is going on?
Not destroyed, Captain. We can fix it.
We suffered a chambers coil overload. Our comm systems have been unable to reach ground-based locations. My chief engineer is just bringing them online now. The satellite, don't worry about that. We'll be able to replicate you a new one.
Says no, not with our. We will not be replicating our satellites. We will expect financial remuneration for that.
Very well, if that's what you require.
Let's have you though make a roll to kind of calm this diplomatic kerfluffle down.
Okay. I think I can now use my mediation.
Yes.
No, that's not me. No, I'm looking at somebody else.
Oh,
well, I've got persuasion or negotiation, so I could push it anyway. Either a negotiate or a persuade them.
I like either one.
And I don't think it's command for discipline. Attributes. I think I need to show strong. Well, I can either show strong leadership or a presence.
Yeah, so presence command feels right to me.
Yeah. Presence command. Okay. Let's roll those bones and see what we get. Oh, finally some decent luck. A 3 and 11, and I think a 3 for me is.
So you have 3 successes. So 2 successes will calm the eldest Amadro down. She will buy your excuses and be willing and such. You've got 1 more momentum you can use to ask a question, or you can throw it into the pool.
Let's throw it in the pool.
Okay. So go ahead and add that in. And she will say, well, given that the day is nearly concluded, we will begin tomorrow morning at 0800 local. I'm sending your ship the transporter coordinates. We will inform the rebels that there has been a delay, and we look forward to seeing Ambassador Lavos and yourselves tomorrow.
No need to send the coordinates for transportering. The chamber's coil overload has damaged our long-range transportability, so we'll be going to the ground by shuttle.
That wasn't the agreement.
Technical problems with the ship always happens. The agreement was we will be there on the ground by any means.
There's a like this clearly is like she actually like holds up a finger to say hold on, and the screen goes blank for a bit, and eventually she comes on and she goes, here is the landing pad coordinates. Your shuttle must dock. Included is the path corridor for your flight. Please make sure that you keep to this as to avoid any other shuttles on your way down.
Of course, I've got some of the best navigators in the galaxy on my ship. That shouldn't be a problem.
So I've seen. So yeah, let's see if like what you all like is there once or like do we want to have a command meeting?
Yes.
Okay. So I think we're going to cut to the scene with Commander Carlton, Lieutenant Vate, Ward. You're obviously going to be the pilot. Commander Lital, Ambassador Jaro, there in the meeting room again. Round table, windowless area. And one of the things, Carlton, is you have to decide who is going with you down to the planet. So how are you setting up this meeting? What are you doing?
Can I just ask, sorry, can I just ask for a recap of the both in the situation? Because I just want to focus us on what Starfleet's goal is here rather than
absolutely. So I think we see like the ship's equivalent of librarian or data person, researcher, will say both is separated from the Cardasian Empire 20 years ago. Prior to that, it was a client state, not occupied, but generally there was a sense of force being applied in the control. The Abothans managed to split away during the time of the Cardasian troubles. And the Cardasians, because of their interests elsewhere, never returned back to take care of the planet. The Abothans are a warp-capable species, and they have trade with other neighboring star systems. They are generally keep to themselves. They have been inquiries have been made about their joining the Federation, and they have declined each time. Approximately 2 years ago, they had a catastrophic environmental crisis of undetermined nature and requested aid from the Federation at that time. We supplied them with foodstuffs, basic grains, and things like that, as well as a number of industrial replicators for them to get things back in hand. They were noticeably standoffish, even with the aid that was given. They were still, at that point, engaged in a civil struggle with a group of rebels that are known as the Passage. At that time, the Federation asked that if they wished further aid or support, we would be given the opportunity to negotiate a settlement, or at the very least a ceasefire, between the government and these rebel forces. That is the basic gist of things.
So, thank you, Lieutenant.
They will say, for the Federation's point of view, this is an important planet in that it is an occupied system on the border between Cardasian space and Federation space. It also has trade with other smaller star systems in the area, which is important. They also have some, apparently, from what we can gather, some revolutionary computer tech that would also be an asset, and I know that several of our scientists have asked about.
The goal here is to bring peace to both us. Yes, we're negotiating a truce between the rebels and the government. The Cardassians, I think that all they'll be offering the Abothans is the power to crush this passage group. That's my assessment, Captain.
I agree.
I see whatever we bring to the negotiation table, we should be careful that the Cardassians are going to undermine us. If we could gain access to the environmental crisis. I don't believe a Federation team has analysed the root cause of that yet. I wouldn't put it past the Cardassians, and he looks at Jarrow a bit apologetically. I wouldn't put it past the Cardassians to have instigated the whole thing. They like their traps and their surprises.
100% agree, Chief Security.
So,
now, they did give away one important point during that meeting we had of them. They've got a listening post or a comms relay on the planet.
In system. It's off planet, but it's a station that's in another orbit.
Latal, can you get your team in engineering to start generating some satellite relays? We could deploy them in the debris field that's surrounding a planet to intercept.
Can I understand what our objective here is, Captain? It seems like we're seeking to undermine the Cardassians rather than necessarily solve the problem of the planet.
We haven't had the information from the teams on the planet yet, Latal, so we can't come to a decision on what route we're going to take. Know your enemy first.
So you want me to set up systems to spy on the Cardassians in system satellite?
Indeed.
I've got Starfleet protocols. I'm curious, how does this sit with respect to the existing peace treaty? Because it sounds very iffy to me. If this goes awry, it's an act of war, isn't it?
No, listening to other people's communications is not an act of war.
That's how, Captain, I may have a solution that doesn't require the deployment of any more assets into space, given the Abothans are already quite irate with our orbit, shall we say, as he looks at the wards, across the table. I would like to use the talent I always find hard to actually bring into practice, which is the intelligence agent role talent, which is once per adventure may create an advantage without requiring a task or spending any momentum, threat, or determination. The advantage I would like to create is that Starfleet intelligence has provided me with the broken Cardassian codes, like the comm signals for the listening posts.
Absolutely. So, that I think what it is that listening post is not a high priority or high security listening post. It is a general Cardassian sensor post, and I think that you can easily get the code such that if you need to pick up what they're sending, you can do that.
Yeah, so I think they just pulls out, like a pad, and just says, Vital, you should have everything you need to do that with the ship's sensors without tipping our hand in any way.
So basically, the trait that we're creating, the advantage that we're creating, is sensor outpost cracked.
Yeah, I put it down as Cardasian listening post access.
Okay. Yeah. So all sounds good.
We know what we know what they know based on that listening post comms. You know.
So, Captain, who is the team that's going down?
We're going to have Ward flying us down. Clearly, the new ambassador. Vate as head of security. Alan, do you want to play Latal in this, or do you want to flick to a quick?
I think, yeah, I think I'd like to, because I'm enjoying using his interpersonal skills.
Okay.
And you did tell me that I needed to watch and learn the skills of diplomacy.
Yeah, you're doing a bit too much talking instead of watching and learning. Hey, we can cross that at a different path on the yearly review. Anyway, so that is the team.
Okay. Is there anything else in the way of prep people want to do, or shall we go ahead and cut to the shuttle descending?
I'll deploy the engineering team to do the necessary interception of the system, of the spy satellite, the listening post.
Should we prioritize that, or should we prioritize the repair to the nacelle?
That's a very good question, Lieutenant. Prioritize the nacelle.
As you wish. And Tatasa and the other engineers will get back to work on getting that warp nacelle ready. Jaro, how do we see you on screen reacting to this like fairly dramatic shift in your role and responsibilities? And now not only are you just kind of playing the ambassador, like you're going down to the planet, and it's very clear that you are going to be in the midst of a significant diplomatic negotiation.
I think Jaro is one in between when they're working, is reading up, like trying to get up to speed as much as possible on all of this, maybe watching some vids, whatever the equivalent of YouTube is in Star Trek. And just trying to really like do the best to perform in this role while they're in it.
Okay.
And I think probably talking with the captain on and off too.
So Captain, like, what are you saying to Jaro? Like, what's your...
Yeah, I think like Jaro's looking for some inspiration or some good advice here.
Negotiations are tough, Jaro. So I would say, see what the teams are doing, react to what they say, respect their cultures, and, really dive in and let me see you at your best. That's what I want to see. I've got faith in you, Jaro. You can do this.
Thank you, Captain.
Lieutenant Vate, anything else before we...
I'm just debating whether or not to sub in Adira Lee as the security officer for the away mission. Yeah, I think I like that. I got to play her briefly in Fate of the Quadrant, and I'd like to see her get some screen time. And this is, I think, the rare occasion where, having Vate around is interchangeable with another member of the team, kind of thing. So I will be Ensign Adira Lee. Vate will say to the captain, I'd like to stay on board the Kintsugi as much as the
continue crack that code. I'm not sure the TAL's prioritized it correctly, so you may need to interject and put some work in on that.
I think I'm going to suggest Ensign Adira Lee. She seems to be recovered following the mission on Zoralux 3.
I've heard some good things in the report. Make it so.
Cool. So Adira will, fist bump Ensign Ward when no one's looking, like away team bros.
Uh, we'll see you load up onto the shuttlecraft rather than taking the transporter down. And Ensign Ward, you are going to fly. You've been given the coordinates and all of that to fly you down.
Yeah, and I am maybe wondering under my breath exactly what's wrong with the transporters, because now I've got to think about these 7,000 rogue satellites in orbit.
Absolutely. So this is a chest here, because this is not easy flying. This is precision flying. Even working with the corridor that they've given you, there's some other complications which I'll talk about in a moment after you've rolled.
Fantastic. So is this like tiptoeing through this corridor? Is this control, or is this a little bit more seat of the pants daring?
I like daring plus con.
Okay. I'm gonna spend a momentum.
Okay.
I'll con sensors just to provide assistance.
Okay. So 3 dice for you, Donna, and then 1 die for Alan.
So there's 2 successes.
2 successes.
And I'm going to roll my untapped potential.
Okay.
Which is a effect,
yeah.
Which means I think I get a momentum back and you get a threat. Is that
yes?
Do I read that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you would add those, and then Lutal, roll your d10.
Yeah,
D20.
I'm using command and con.
Okay.
On the grounds that I'm just calling out coordinates. So that's 12. Control. I'm using daring and command. That's 12. So 15. No joy.
Okay. So one of the things that will strike you, Ensign Ward, is like they've got a very narrow area here as you're coming down. But the other thing that you will pick up is, as soon as you kind of get into, past the satellite ring in orbit, there is a whole bunch of interference in your signals and comms and so on that you have to like do some maneuvering to compensate for. There's a wild amount of like high dense energy communications going on planet that like you weren't prepared for. You can compensate for it, but it's a lot, and it was unexpected and seems out of the ordinary. And we will see your ship come down through there. Tell me, this is a Class M planet. What's the coloring or the terrain, or what's the painted background? Like when we see the planet and we've got that matte painting in the background, what is our key cool feature of that?
Yeah, I think we have it's mostly blue, but we get we zoom in and we see that there's these grand archipelagos, maybe volcanic, that are quite large in those respects. So this great swathe, this ribbon of islands stretching across this ocean.
Absolutely. And we'll see the shuttle come down, and it's very clearly from the markers, this is a large kind of walled compound, multiple buildings. It's got a landing pad space. There's definitely urban areas built outside of it, city, but it's kind of isolated, and we'll see the shuttle touch down. Tell me, I don't know if we've established this. Jaro, what is different about the shuttlecraft for this series?
Ooh. Let's
We
see.
always get new models
Yeah.
each time, so we always have to establish what they look like.
I'm gonna say that it actually looks aerodynamic, like for in atmosphere,
Okay.
versus what I usually think of Star Trek is very blocky, rectangular. Let's say it's like got streamlined and it's made to serve well in different atmospheric conditions.
Yeah, definitely that smoothness, that
Yeah,
tail
like,
that makes it look
yeah,
real.
yeah, and it has maybe in some edges like a organic feel more than the customized hard edges.
And we will see it land. We'll see the group of you disembark, and uh, we'll see the elder will come over to where you are, Captain Carlton, and we'll look and we'll say, "Where is Ambassador Lavos?"
Ambassador Lavos is predisposed in another part of the Federation. So he has sent Ambassador Jaro here.
Why were we not informed of this?
It was a last minute thing. We were already in warp. He had to deploy to another location in the Federation. The Federation deals with many planets, Elder.
Ambassador Lavos was trained in this. Perhaps we should simply call off the negotiations. And she's looking to the others, and you can see she's actually very serious. Like she's like, we should just cancel this.
I don't
think
that's all appropriate.
I want to say that Ambassador Jaro put something out there signifying that they understand what's at stake here.
Okay. Let's have you make that roll. What do you want to roll that with?
Well, I don't know if you saw my note about studying up on the way down.
Yeah. So what's the benefit for that mental repository again?
Let's see. Reduce the difficulty of the task by 1 to a minimum of 1.
Okay. So we're down to difficulty 1 then.
Yeah, and in addition, if they succeed, they gain a bonus momentum.
Okay.
Which could be spent on obtain information.
Excellent. Let's have you do that. So you focus, you've read up on your friend, your late friends, your mentor's work. Difficulty is 1 with the potential for bonus momentum.
So I think the attribute will be reason.
Okay.
And let's see. I think
reason and command?
I think command. Trying to like get a hold of their attention here.
Okay. So 12 or less.
Okay.
Roll me 2d20.
All right, let's give it a shot. Oh, not so good.
And you were going to assist Captain Carlton?
Indeed, as I have persuasion.
1d20.
What stat are we using?
This is reason plus command.
Oh, excellent. 3.
So that's the success that you need, because Jaro's already lowered the difficulty, effectively a success. And then you can, and she's like, you can tell it that
could I use one of my talents here?
Sure. Right now you've got a success and you're going to get that bonus question. But
okay, if I don't need to, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So what is your question though, Jaro, that you want to ask?
Basically, I think what I want to know is like, it's kind of like the question of how can we get you to trust us?
The question is not one of trust, you'll realize. It's that you don't think she wants these negotiations to go forward. But she's kind of in a public space here. You've called out. She goes, oh, all right. As you wish.
I think what Jaro would do would mention a benefit, like even for recognizing that they want to, like, just to kind of like put on at least pleasantries, like, we're here to help you. Here's a benefit to us working together to do this.
And I think she'll realize perhaps that maybe she's overstated things, and she's yes, the Federation has helped us quite a bit, and certainly we are, that the aid that has been provided has been vital to the oncoming stability of our people. So yes, I apologize for my overreaction. There have been a lot of complexities, as you can imagine.
And we understand the personnel change is not the most ideal, but we're going to work to help one another here.
And I think one of the things that you will notice as all of you are kind of standing around is there is the elder here, and there are a couple of attaches that she has with her, and you'll see one or two other Abothans who are clearly part of this entourage. But as you're kind of looking around in this complex, you're not seeing any other Abothans. What you are seeing is a large number of Bajorans, clearly doing like manual labor and service labor here. But you're not seeing any Abothans, and that does strike you as odd. And at that point, you'll hear the sound of a transporter, and you will see two more Abothans appear, and they look angry. They are immediately like in a defensive posture, and they look around, and they're like holding hands at their sides, like they're armed, and they're looking around, and you'll see the government people kind of like back away, and one of the two says, "Who is in charge here?"
Latal steps between and puts his hands up.
You are in charge here?
I just need to make sure that you're not going to shoot anyone.
If we were going to shoot someone, we would tell them.
It's fine.
I take it this is the passage delegates.
Yes, there's a pair of them there. They are
Don't worry,
clearly
Latal.
in bad temper.
Don't worry, Latal. This is the other delegates. It's a diplomatic thing. I'm sure they can calm down, and any problems they have, I'm sure everyone here can address them.
Look, they kind of look around and then get, quiet. They're observing the area, clearly kind of judging distances, acting very defensively. So we've had some stuff from the captain and Commander Latal and Jaro here in this opening moment here. Ensign Lee, what about you? What are you doing? What are you looking for here in this?
Do we know what the nature of their environmental disaster is?
No one, like, that's been strangely opaque.
I think gonna go through the shuttle's sensors, like, because we flew in, we went over the shuttles. Starfleet shuttles are pretty, robust in their scanning systems and everything. I'm gonna punch up the telemetry. As I sit on the shuttle, I think, completely away from the potentially aggressive hostiles who come into the room. but yes, I will scan through that using Lee's not so great engineering and
Okay.
reason, I think would be the
That
right.
seems reasonable.
Yeah.
You need some help with that.
Yeah, I mean, if Ward's, I was kind of imagining it as like Ward and Lee, like kind of like, sat on the shuttle while the others are outside talking. If you're cool with that.
Yeah, and maybe as we hear voices slightly raised, it's like, shouldn't you be out there at least? Uh,
Uh,
but then the dulcet tones of Lieutenant Commander Latal break through
yeah,
the noise, and
yeah.
well, they're
We
fine.
That's the guy out of a seat, and then she goes, "Oh, they've got Latal. It's fine. They're gonna need a photo, a photon torpedo to get rid of Latal."
So one of you should roll the basic roll, and the other one can help with the d20.
Cool. I mean, Ward is better at it than me by one, but I'm gonna roll it because I said it.
Yeah,
So
you
Absolutely.
did.
you do
You
that.
said reason con, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Reason engineering, I think, for
Engineering or science, either one is fine with me.
is it Lee's engineering is better, which is why I'm doing that.
Okay.
I'll follow suit. Got a 7, so that's one extra for you.
Okay.
Cool. And what's the difficulty level?
Difficulty is a 2,
Well, I'm
but
gonna burn.
extra successes will get you more information.
Yeah, I'm gonna burn the last of the momentum. Cool.
Yes, burn that momentum.
We
No,
had this last
I think
time,
you're
right?
looking at the wrong sheet, Will. We've got 4 in the momentum pool.
The one in ship is a red herring.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm looking at the wrong one. So then I was just doing one of that. Sorry, it's confusing going back and forth between the sheets. I've never had to do it. There we go. That is 3 successes and a crit.
Okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So you've got 2 momentum, but you've also got the basic information. What is the thing you really want to know? Like when you and Ward are scanning here, what do you need to figure out?
I mean, the nature of the environmental disaster and a potential solution to it, perhaps.
That I think is probably a little bit different thing. That's more of a hypothesis kind of thing. But I will give you the answer to the first question, and then you have 2 momentum, which you can use this information. What you'll be able to tell here, now that you're kind of at ground level and have the time and the inclination, is there has clearly been some significant atmospheric damage, and you kind of 2 of you are reading back through the readouts and things like that, and it seems to you like they tried to do some climatological weather control stuff, and it did not go well. Like there was like a major disaster on that score. Based on what you're seeing in terms of their needs and what you're seeing in terms of atmospherics, that's what you can pick up here. You've got 2 momentum to ask questions. So like each of you can ask one, or
Is there any trace of Cardasian technology or energy readings or whatever in whatever they used to try and alter their climate?
no. Like there's some Cardasian tech and things like that around here that you're seeing, just because this was a Cardasian client state and there's clearly been some trade. But whatever happened, whatever was done that weather control wise was not Cardasian. Ensign Ward?
I am wondering, do we see any evidence that, say, the physiological effects on the different species here is different. So, for example, the Bajorians are not as affected by this atmospheric change, or
It's almost impossible for you to tell that because they're keeping you away from everybody else. All
there's
you're
plenty of
seeing is
Bajorians here, right?
like all you're seeing here in this area, in this compound, are the handful of Abothans,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the Bajoran service workers.
Okay.
So I'll let you do a different question then.
Maybe I'll. Could I put that back in the bank, and maybe at a later stage we can ask that same question when we have more access?
Sure. Put that aside.
Okay.
So as Captain Carlton, Ambassador Jaro, Lieutenant Lital, you're there, and there's kind of a little bit of a tension there that you're kind of talking down. You will hear the telltale, slightly different sound of a transporter from the Cardasian transport, and you will see the Gull and the people there, and you can see that very clearly the Abosans, both the government people and the revolutionaries, they both kind of like maybe their posture goes down a little bit. They go from tense, ready to fight, to kind of slips down a degree. And the Gull will say, "Greetings, Captain Carlton, Ambassador Jaro. Shall we perhaps retire inside to begin some preliminary discussions?" And you are muted, Captain.
Indeed, Goal. As long as the representatives want that, it's their negotiations at the end of the day.
And you will see, again, weirdly, the government officials kind of like looking for the Cardasian kind of lead, and then there's like, yes, okay, let us do that. And the you will notice that the revolutionaries are kind of keeping an eye out and moving along. And this next part, these next few hours, are kind of a weird set of establishing some basics, getting some details on there, like laying out terms. It's the most boring kind of establishments of lines and limits and things, not actually getting to any of the issues, but kind of all of the discussion that goes on here. And I think that during this time, all five of you will have a chance, if you want to talk with one of these NPCs one-on-one, you can do that, or talk with one of the other PCs one-on-one, kind of during the scrum of this going back and forth during this preliminary day before like the evening dinner. So, Captain, who should I start with?
I'd like to set up some kind of rapport with one of the revolutionaries.
Okay. So, what do you think is that feels like presence, right?
Yeah, definitely presence.
And what is your tactic here? There are two of them. And actually, I should put in their name, shouldn't I? Let me get that in here. There's Darhiki and Batarsis.
I'd like them to give me a history of the revolutionary movement.
Okay, let's have you.
Why are they revolutionaries?
Let's have you make that roll.
So presence and command.
Yeah, it feels good.
Okay. One success or one out on the two successes.
Okay.
One success.
So you will have a chance during one of these breaks to go over and speak with Darhiki, and she will greet you. She's clearly a little bit nervous. You have the sense that maybe she's got a bad impression of the Federation, just like as a general thing. And you kind of ask about what the nature of the rebellion is, and she will say, the government has no concern for the impact of things on the people, on what dangers are in new artificial foods, no concern about the possible loss of jobs and employment if new technologies for replication come online. And the weird thing is, like, you see her like she's kind of talking about this, but like she's talking around it, almost like she can't actually say what the issue is. She said, and we have tried to negotiate in good faith, but they have used, things have occurred that have caused us issues for us and our families.
Okay, so they're not environmental. All they've said, they're not fighting because of an environmental damage thing. They're more fighting for jobs, for these are classic Cuban revolutionaries.
Yeah, the environmental thing seems weird that they kind of like talk around that.
Okay, that's important, I think, for us, because I thought that was quite important. Yeah, I think we've all got a better picture of where these guys are coming from.
Who do you want to have go next?
Let's throw the hand grenade in next.
Latal?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know how you guessed that.
I think I want to ask the same kind of questions on the government side.
Okay.
What's their view of this conflict? What do they think's at the root of this conflict? Because that's what we don't seem to understand at the minute.
So let's have you roll.
I think that again, I'm trying to press them through argument, really.
Okay.
So I think I'm going with control and command. Beg your pardon.
Bless you.
So that's 13, but I'd like to invoke command theory and my incisive scrutiny.
Okay.
So 13-3.
Yes.
19-15. Ah.
Now, do you want to spend a point of determination to re-roll that?
I'm not sure I have a value that's appropriate. Yeah, I'll spend Starfleet as a force for good. There you go.
Okay, sounds good.
And re-roll those two. 12 and 10, which is 2 successes.
2 successes.
And I get an extra momentum for obtaining information.
So this government person, you will speak to, of those, you will speak to Nanparta, the male presenting of the two. And he will say, we are legalists. We believe here in Abothus in the rule of law and the importance of promises and commitments to contracts, to agreements, to all of those things. That is very important to us. The rebels are word breakers, oath breakers, in many regards, and refuse to fit in with the society and the system.
So this is a philosophical difference. Or are you suggesting to me that somehow they are physiologically incapable of keeping an oath?
No, I would not say that they are physiologically incapable, but they are ones who have. We are only joined together as a society through a system of contracts, through a system of agreements. We are tied together by those. And if one cannot participate in that system, one cannot be part of that. And they do not see that, and they battle against the system.
And so this is a matter of principle then, or is there a specific contract that they object to?
I couldn't possibly say. When you introduced yourself, you said that, and this is, I'm giving you another thing from one of your this is your bonus thing here. You said that you were an engineer.
Indeed, yes.
How do you see him move you kind of off away such that the rest of his delegation can't see you? And he says, we have had some issues with one of the industrial replicators that the Federation graciously provided to us for our use. I wonder if later on you would be willing to go with me outside of the compound to look at it.
Why wait?
I cannot do it. And look, he looks back and he says, I cannot do it now. And like clearly you can tell now he's like trying to keep the secret from the others.
I understand. No, I would welcome, I say reluctantly, an opportunity to see more of the city.
And kind of, unfortunately, given the nature of things and the current situation, we're not permitting travel outside the compound walls.
Oh, I see. Oh, then I won't.
Okay. Captain Carlton, who's next? Muted again.
Let's go with Ambassador Jarrow.
David might be on the keyboard at the moment.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Let's totally pivot then and going for Ensign Ward.
Ensign Ward, what are you doing during all of this? Are you talking to people? Are you doing more scans? What do you think?
I think I am maybe doing some checks on the shuttle, just to make sure that the atmospheric conditions haven't damaged it at all. But I'm maybe using it as an excuse to strike up some chat with a Bajorian gardener or something.
Absolutely. You'll head over. The Bajorans kind of look at you. They've been watching this thing go on, and one of them will greet you. We'll say, who was that that woman in the robes there who had with you?
The ambassador?
Yes. She's not Cardasian.
She is part Bajoran, actually.
Oh, well, that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so familiar with the occupation.
Neither am I. We have been here for my family arrived here about 15 years ago, expatriates. We hope to return to Bajor at some point, but of course, there's a whole set of queues and lines for returnees these days, especially now with the complexity of this wormhole.
Yeah, but I think
so why are
I
you
imagine
here?
that peace, I think, between the local factions. That's what I understand. But
Oh, okay.
what's your take on the passage?
What do you want to roll?
This seems like presence for sure. And I mean, command doesn't seem like the
Yeah,
wrong
that,
one.
it's the
Yeah,
command or security would be fine.
let's go with presence command.
Okay.
I do not think. Yeah. Yeah, I'll just roll flat. Is there a difficulty?
Let's say
Or is it?
difficulty 1, and we'll
Yeah.
see what we can kind of get here.
Okay. So presence command. So that's 2 successes.
2 successes. Says, I don't know everything about what's going on here, but I can tell you I'm glad that we live and work in the compound and our other restricted service areas. It means we're not part of their network, don't have the implants.
The people who work here aren't are privileged, or
well, we don't have access to a lot of things. We can't enter into agreements, which is no skin off my nose. We've got our standard labor contracts, and that's it.
Will you be hanging out with Rod? Because I don't have my own thing, Like I don't have my own question. I was going to go speak to the Bajorans as well, and I would just like to interject with
Sure.
Implants.
They're all, you can't see them. They do a really good job of it, but they all have subdermal implants. They're all connected.
Even the passage.
Yeah, everybody has to be like they all have. They're all part of their networks and things.
So wait a minute. The 2 warring factions have their own separate networks, or
Oh God, no. There's only one network. It's this, I don't know the whole details of it, but it controls like everything.
well, now I've gone from slightly confused to remarkably confused.
He says, "Yeah, here's the thing," and the pauses, and this is the other sort of second successes is. Everything here has rules, and everything here has rules and agreements and commitments are really important around here. And I can't say anything because I don't want to get in trouble. And I don't want to like we're guests here, so I don't want to. But some people can't say anything because they've agreed not to say anything, and they've had to agree not to say anything.
So the implants make you bound by your contracts?
Is that something I said? I don't think that's something I said. That's an interesting idea.
It is an interesting idea. I look worriedly at Ward. Well, luckily, Captain Carlton always follows the rules.
Yeah, it's a good job we didn't show up here with an unexpected ambassador, you know. But also, I'm not saying it, but this is what I'm thinking: is like this sounds like assimilation, right? And maybe Lee is not thinking this very studiously, not thinking this.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
say, let's say there are good people here. When someone gets punished, and someone looks around, when one of them gets punished, it isn't just them. When they break a contract, when they overstep their bounds, when they violate an NDA, when they violate the terms and agreements for something, and everything has terms and agreements. Like when you do that, your whole cohort is punished, is fined. That's what they want a passage out. I better get back to my gardening, though. Thank you. It's good to meet you. Hopefully, we'll have a chance to speak again.
I'll see you on Bajor, yeah?
When your contract is up, maybe you can ask for a lift. You know,
Are you serious?
I mean, I shouldn't be making an offer without talking to people, but you know, you might understand that.
I got you. I know how things work.
Hey, if Starfleet joins, if Bajor joins Starfleet like they're talking about, the Federation, then I'm sure someone will be back around no time.
You see him like clearly like I don't know about Starfleet, like clearly, and he says, "I will say this: like we saw who you're talking to in there, and there's no love lost."
Yeah.
So, Ambassador Jaro, what is it that you want to do? Who do you want to talk to? What is it you want to get out of this during this time? And one of the things we do is we assume that information has been passed on to you, so you have the information from previous conversations.
So thank you for talking to the Bajorans. That was awesome. I think what we want to know, and I may have missed things from stepping out, was
Sure.
What is the diplomatic way forward given the information that we have? Or is there some gap that we need to better like fill in the details on? Like, is there something that we're missing here?
Let's have you make a roll for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Would that be insight?
Yeah, I think insight.
Is it security again or something?
Yeah, I like security for this.
Okay. And then let me see here.
You have diplomacy as a thing, don't you? So
yeah.
So use that as a focus.
Okay. All right. And if there's a trap, I do have a talent for that, potentially. Okay, let's go. Okay. So I got 2 successes.
2 successes. So here's the thing you will realize as you're going around on this, as you picked up on this stuff, is the government isn't here in good faith. The only reason they're here is that aid from the Federation has been made contingent on them coming to the negotiating table. and you have a strong feeling like unless something changes here, this is going to be the government stonewalling, delaying, until the patience of the revolutionaries is exhausted.
Mhm.
I think you can tell that. Does that seem like a fair answer?
Yeah. And did that cover the 2 successes or just?
Yeah, I think that's pretty
Okay.
pretty good for that. Does that
Yeah.
feel right?
Yeah. So I think what Jaro is thinking is, what's the leverage we can, if there is any, what's the leverage we could develop to kind of change things?
Yeah, you need to find out what they need and what they're getting from the
Yep.
Federation that is
Yeah.
important to them. And I think we're going to kind of cut forward. I'm going to hard frame a scene here. I think that breaks up for the day. There's the kind of exchange of information that goes on amongst the 5 of you, but then of course there's the diplomatic dinner that goes on, sort of a little bit like the other dinner, but now we've got the passage done at one end glaring and the government people at the other end glaring, and the Cardasians in between, and that kind of thing. And I do think that as that kind of finishes up, the gull will stand up, and we'll say, Captain Carlton, perhaps you'll join me for a drink here on the balcony.
Of course.
And he will draw out a bottle of Romulan brandy, and he will hand it to you so you can check the seal on it. And he grabs a couple of glasses and he will walk with you out into the night air on the balcony. You can kind of look down on the compound. Pretty much the lights of the compound walls make it hard to see out into the city. And the gull will, this is not a particularly auspicious view.
And what makes you say that, Gull?
Can't see beyond the wall that's in front of us.
I'm sure a path will present itself. It always does, as the Vulcans say.
I hope so. Things have gotten so twisted and complicated with the situation at Bajor, with the wormhole, with this now. And he'll put the 2 glasses down, clearly indicating you pour and you hand him whichever glass you wish.
Yeah, well, the seal was good, and I know that nothing can survive being immersed in Romulan brandy, so it will be safe to drink anyway. But I understand the formality of what he's doing, so I will pour 2 drinks and hand him one.
And he will sip at it. What do you think, Captain Carlton?
I think we need to give it more time and really work out what both parties want, and try to come to some accord between them that satisfies both of them, because I don't believe either of them is going to get everything they want in this situation.
That is the path of negotiation, finding that midpoint. I hope that both the interests of the Federation and, of course, the interests of my people can also be satisfied within this, but I understand that may not be the case, that a satisfactory solution to the problem may not involve us.
In some ways, I hope their solution would free both our causes from what's going on here. I don't think that's going to happen, but hopefully,
I knew you were a realist. I knew I liked something about you.
Yes, as they must seek some compromise, maybe we can seek some compromise to assist them that works out beneficial for both our cultures.
Let us hope. And he will raise his glass to you, and he will chink to that. And then as he explodes in flames, and you are thrown back against the wall. And that's where we'll take up next time. So that's our episode there, and that's our cliffhanger for today. I will point out that David said he wanted to do a forensics person, so we've got a murder mystery, at least in part here in this. So that's part of the point of this. I would like to do a quick stars and wishes, if we could, for next time. Captain, can I start with you?
Good on you, Lowell, for running a diplomatic thing. I don't think I've played a diplomacy thing in any game. Seems quite hard, but you're handling it as always, Lowell. So good to you there. Yeah, rest of the players, good to see Will bring a quick character. David, very interesting character you brought to the table. Donna, always playing Warden. I really did like the out of control satellite. I thought that you played that really well, and it brought a good dimension to a lot further RP. And Alan, yeah, bringing Latal as ever in spades and a bit more. Always good to see. Yeah, again, always enjoyable. Good group, no tensions, really good.
Awesome. What about you, Will?
Yeah, I enjoyed. I really enjoyed the diplomacy setup, and I enjoyed, that it's about bringing peace between two different groups rather than just simply self-interest. That feels very Star Trek. Like you can have aid, but like you need to seek a peaceful route to your problems if you need more aid, basically. Bringing them to the table seems really good. Yeah, I love that we have a half Bajoran, half Cardasian. I remember Gul Dukat's daughter on Deep Space Nine. Yeah, I can't remember her name, but yeah. Yeah, I think wish-wise, I really enjoyed the twist of the subdermal implants and the network and everything, right? Did I miss something about that earlier on, or was that revealed by the Bajoran? Because it feels as though that's
only thing that had been hinted at before is that whole thing about the idea that the all that subspace and traffic and communications and things that done a hit going down.
the amount of satellite kind of stuff. Yeah, I see that one. I would like, obviously, a little bit more of that weird alien culture stuff to come, because I mean that's they're kind of like some really weird technologically enabled brand of libertarianism, the idea that everything is a contract rather than like a law or whatever, right? And you're bound by those contracts. It's kind of like the horrible singularity of the sovereign citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. But just from a completely different point of view to what you would normally associate with that. I can't wait to be in a weird. Basically, my wish is more of this weird alien political system, as well as the murder mystery, as well as all the other stuff.
Okay. David, can I put you here in the middle?
I love it. Yeah, everyone did a great job. I want to see more PC interaction, if that's a possibility.
Yeah.
I feel like we're kind of like scattering and doing things I like the system, how it handles helping, and no, you've been doing a really great job. This is my first time playing a Star Trek game ever, and this has been a lot of fun. And a lot of what Will was saying about the alien government tech. Also, I'm interested in if it becomes of interest, the failed weather technology thing. So yeah, I'm just more of whatever.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll try and make sure when we do the scenes now that we kind of got, like, we know where we're going to be, we'll try and make sure that we do pairs and trios for those scenes. Like if when Latal goes to see the replicators and those kinds of things. So Latal.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this being more social, more diplomatic. Not just we've solved some issues reasonably diplomatically previously, but this is a classic Star Trek plot, isn't it? And I like the twist that actually the Cardassians may not be the bad guys here. And I think we've started from the assumption that they're a threat, and I'm not sure they are. I think they're in the same position we are. So I think exploring that's going to be interesting. And now, of course, the most reasonable member of their team is dead. And so now we're dealing with the guy with his chip on his shoulder and the very curious, which gives another spin to how the Cardassians will react. So I got, my wishes, I think, are to see the dynamics change a bit, maybe, in how the Cardassians now relate to this mission from their point of view. Because the poor old girl, I think, was playing honest broker throughout, and we've stereotyped the Cardassians, ladies and gentlemen. We've done a bit of, not very healthy view of a culture, if I may say so, and we've learned that lesson. The Federation is better than this. Starfleet is a force for good. I will remind you all. So no, I've had a good time. Thank you.
And we've got 2 armed Cardassian warships in orbit with your own ship.
Indeed. But I'm relying on your discomfort with the Star Trek Adventures Starship combat system to keep us reasonably safe in the short term.
You'll have a clock here before I pull out that. That's right. Donna.
I think Alan has kind of hit my main stars on the head there. I mean, we said specifically we weren't interested in easy species stereotypes, so we get exactly what we asked for. And I love this. I won't say hive mind, but this kind of implant contract. Nonsense that we've arrived in, which is perfect. Let me see. Of course, nothing is more dangerous than Commander Latal, who has read a book on communication theory and now is jumping into everything.
I read a book, now I'm a diplomat.
Yeah.
I took my last debrief from my command officer very seriously.
Obviously, you were. The annual review said you should fix your downfall with some training, and of course, model employee that you are. David, I loved Jarrow. The character concept really. Very out there in terms of like something we don't usually see, and also like almost too early, right, to be easily explained, but fits perfectly into this world we have. So simple is not part of the discussion. And Paul, I don't know whether whether this was just you thinking of that on the moment or whether you had planned it, but yeah, let's make Jarrah the ambassador. Perfect, brilliant diplomatic coup. If it comes off. And Will, I enjoyed a real chance to play off against Lee. And 2 of us being the junior ranks in the rear, discovering what's really going on here. By talking to the gardener,
Anything wishes wise?
No specific wishes. I think
okay.
More the same, I guess.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you all so much. I'm going to stop the recording.